What's up, y'all? Today I'm going to be running through the Pure Power Patron deck and run through the list, a couple of the combos that the deck uses. This deck's been something that I've been looking at since the new cards came out in Blazing Dominion. Specifically these cards and the portal. Now you're able to play it pure. And I saw a few different builds of the deck, but I wasn't really sold on the end boards that the deck was putting up. It was either creating a very weak end board involving Varidras, non-finita with the trap, IP, and just generic end board pieces, with the draw 4 combo with Dugares and Ginaldo, which is very useful. Drawing 4 is always good because this deck can play some of the best non-engine in the game. But still that end board just felt so weak into the common breakers that people have been playing this format. Like people are playing Super Poly, Crown, Droplet as well is another card that people are using a lot. Storm, so on. So that deck felt very weak into the format. There's also the FTK version, which summons 4 Gustav max and burns. I've said in my previous videos about the Earth Machine deck that it's always better to FTK than to put up an end board. Even if it's a really good end board, an FTK, if you're able to do it consistently, is usually better. But unfortunately, the FTK, as opposed to the train FTK, which is very resilient, you can put up multiple negates before committing to your first Gustav. This deck's FTK is very weak, has lots of choke points. It dies to like a Nimperm on the Gustav, Sparks on the Gustav, even Bell on Medius' effect to shuffle back your Gustav from field, and bring it back from the grave, or like a DD Crow or something. You just lose the game on the spot, and then because you're just playing the previous version of the Pure Patron deck without the FTK, so you're just going to end on like a Varidras and like a IP non-finita counter trap if you didn't already use that. And they weren't even really playing like targets for non-finita to fuse into on the opponent's turn, which I found very weird as well. So that deck also just felt too weak. If you're playing FTK, you want to play the trains. But recently, Jeff Jones got top 16 at the YCS Columbus with a version of this deck using the Amalphage package. Able to set this up on your field, it locks your opponent out of the extra deck and out of activating spell cards or their effects, which is very useful into this current format. Because of how popular spell-based board breakers are. There's also a lack of evenly matched, which is very nice, because this doesn't stop trap cards. But spell-based breakers are very common, so this was a really great meta call by him. Shame wasn't able to take it to top 8, but top 16 is still an amazing performance. However, I've noticed there's been a couple people have made a couple videos online. Not too many that I've noticed, shockingly, about like his list in the Patron deck, and I've uploaded a couple of combos, and I feel like it's just really underexplored still. People are seeing the list, but they're not able to play the deck properly. This deck is very complicated. There's multiple different lines you can do, and there's like a couple true one-card combos, but the best lines with best way to play this deck is using your whole hand effectively, and know what you're going to do, know how to play around certain cards. Obviously, this deck still loses to the draw and lock third, but that's to be expected when playing any sort of pendulum-based strategy, as well as cards like Dimension Shifter. But that's okay. You get to play some of the best non-engine in the game. You get to play Dominus Impulse. You can also play Sparks. I'm choosing not to. I've actually chosen to just copy across Jeff Jones' main deck exactly. I thought it was very clean, and there's no real need to innovate on it anymore. Maybe if something comes up in testing, then I can, but for now, I've just chosen to copy that list and work with it. Extra deck and side deck I've changed up a bit, and I'll explain why in a sec. But for the non-engine, Impulse is obviously an obscene card. Ash is there to insulate your your end board through stuff like Null Charmies and Izuna. Crown and Super Poly are great board breakers, and are also great when going first to be set. Crown has been underperforming a bit for me, but I don't know really what I would replace it with. Droplet seems quite bad in a Pendulum deck, as you can't send Pendulum monsters from field, and also this deck relies on having like 2 or 3 cards to snowball advantage. Droplet sending away your resources, unless you draw it with another breaker, it seems quite mid. but then Crown's also been underperforming, as I said, so we'll have to see. Super Poly is obviously a great card, and the Super Poly target is something that I want to talk about as well. The extra deck, I've chosen to cut the IP that Jeff was playing, and instead I believe I'm playing the Dragostapelia. If they manage to prevent you from getting to a lock, this is a good Super Poly target against a lot of decks, as it clears their board and also puts up a negate of their monster, so it pushes better than some other Super Poly targets like Garura or Chorozo, which is something that I will consider against the Elf Note decks, but they're not too popular at the moment, at least in Perth. This is also a great target to summon in your opponent's turn with the non-finito. You can use this is your fusion, then you can use any of your dart monsters that you have on the field, like a Varadras who's used his negate, or like a patron, if your opponent manages to out the lock, out the special summoning. It's a great card. It's good part of an end board piece. Great Super Poly target. As for the side, Droll's really good card, and also I want one that's a cross-out target, as well as Prulio against stuff like Enneacraft, Radiant Typhoon, VS, decks that summon from the hand a lot. It's good to have going second to Mulchami is just fundamentally broken cards. I feel like you should be including these 6 in every deck that you want to play. And Duster and Storm are amazing this format. Striker's really popular, and these cards just force them to have Draw, an Accusation, or Judgment, or Thrust for Dracotail Flame. And usually against my deck, Thrust won't be live. I'll just be siding into Droll and these, and I'll be removing usually something like Super Polymerization of Thorlos, so unless I draw the Ash, it's not going to really be live. And a lot of them aren't even playing Dracotail Flame as a Thrust target. These 3 cards for going first, these 6, these 3 help insulate your combo, and then these 3 protect against stuff like Evenly Matched. Not much really more to be said there. So that's the list. Obviously still room for innovation, but I feel like it's a good starting point. And we'll get into some combos. I've made up 2 combos. The first one is just a really basic 1-card combo with a Pendulum Treasure, and also 2 discards, and one of them has to be a spell card to allow you to make the non-finito. So I'm going to just go and activate it, and usually a lot of your combos will start the same way, which is basically revolves around Pendulum Treasure, getting the Vidolium Search and getting to your Portal, and then Portal sending a Patron and searching out your Medius. And then you also have to be careful with your zones so you don't clog up your zones for when you pen summon, so just put them in the middle zones below the EMZs. Just summon the Archmage one, then you're allowed to go straight into non-finito. If we look at non-finito, it says it has to be fusion summoned or special summoned by discarding a spell trap and tributing level 7 or higher Archmage. This Patron is always treated as an Archmage card, so able to summon that. And then you want to go Chainlink 2 non-finito here to play around Asher Impulse on Noverto, summoning from deck. This sets from deck, so it's harder to interact with. And now we've got our Recapture. Now this card's very, very valuable. It allows you, if you control an Archmage card, you can activate it to turn it set. You've got the non-finito here, and it's basically a monster negate. Negates and destroys a monster effect by banishing a fusion you control till the end phase. So it's really good. It's a way to insulate against stuff like Nibiru, and you're actually able to keep non-finito on field for the whole combo. And then your Archmage Patron is going to summon Ginordo from the deck, and then you're able to summon a Beyond. Now again, you'd use the Beyond as Chainlink 2. You're already playing around stuff like Ash, but Ginordo as Chainlink 1 means you beat stuff like a Ghost Spell at this point in the combo, which is, again, just valuable, just making sure you're able to chain block effectively. And now you add that, and then you add back your Preto, and now you can place your Scales and Pend out too from the extra. On summon, Shade's going to bounce himself back to hand. Then you summon out Shade, pay 100, pop Preto, and then you put your Lechery from your deck into the extra deck. And now, if we read this card has the effect, in the scale is the only real important effect. It says, while you control an Amalphage monster, neither player can activate spell cards, their effects, except for Amalphage cards. So this is the stopping your opponent from using their breakers and from using their spells in their engine. And we want to get this in the extra deck because this is how we access it. We're going to now add it back with Exceed the Pendulum next. First of all, we get to Preto Search for our field spell, give us access to another level 10 body later on. This is what the second discard's for. So now we can link 3 into Exceed. We can use her effect on someone to add back the Lechery. And now we're going to activate the field spell, banish face down, to summon out a patron from deck. You could just reveal any of them. But Duprado's here the best because we've only been through one. We've still got the third one left in deck. Now to summon Mercurium, this card says, on summon, attach a monster from your deck as material. So now we're going to attach the Goliath from our deck to the Mercurium as material. Then we're going to use Medius as effect to shuffle back the Mercurium and summon out Medius from the graveyard. And then we can use these two to summon out a Baguska and link 4 into the Charmer. Now this card, during the main phase, allows you to target 2 monsters with the same attribute in different types, or same type in different attributes, and it summons both, and then locks it and the 2 summoned from being used as material. So Baguska is an Earth, and so is Goliath, and they have different types. So you're going to use the Charmer, bring back those 2, and then you also chuck Baguska in defense position, prevent your opponent from beating over the Goliath. Scale the Latry, and that's the end board here. So let's have a look at what's actually making up this end board. You've got your opponent cannot summon from the extra deck, or neither player can summon from the extra deck. This is a monster negate from Recapture. You have a defense position Baguska, locking out monster effects that aren't links, and also preventing your opponent from attacking over. And you have the Latry preventing player from activating spell cards or effects. So to lock out from summon from extra and spells, Baguska, and a monster negate. And if they somehow manage to clear the Goliath, with an Imperm, they're still locked out of spells. But now, if they're able to clear the Baguska as well, you are able to fuse with the non-finito, and then you still have the Recapture as well, which is able to negate. So this is just a really basic 1-card combo, just showing the generic lines the deck will go through to get to a similar end board like this. The real end board you want is Goliath, Latry, and then that's the main thing. Everything else is allowing you to get there, or depending on the matchup. But if you're playing against a deck plays evenly matched, you can make a Varodras instead. Now the second combo I wanted to go through was the combo with just the Noverdo and the 2 spell traps. And this is a slightly different line you have to take with this, because you actually have to go straight into non-finito by attributing this from the hand. So start of the main phase, you go tribute, summon out, and then this is actually going to set the Arcane Vandalism Assault. And so you don't have access to a monster negate, but this is what allows you to still play when you open only Noverdo and the spell trap. This card on activation, it adds Medius from your deck to your hand. So go through, add Medius, and then you normal the Medius and you summon a Ginordo from your deck. And then those 2 will become Beyond. Again, you're going to go Tranic 1, Ginordo, Tranic 2, Beyond. So Beyond adds your Shade, and then Ginordo adds back the Noverdo from your grave. Now you can again place Scales and Pend out 1. And then on summon, Shade bounces back. Shade will summon to the field, and then it's going to pop the Noverdo and place Latry. Now you haven't used Noverdo's effect yet, so you can use its effect now to summon out Duprado from your deck. And then you're going to link 3 into Exceed and use its effect to add back. And also Duprado's effect to search. Chainlink 2 with Exceed to prevent your Duprado from being interrupted by an Ash or something. Add back the Latry, get Terminus. Now because this combo hasn't used Vidolium's effect, we're actually still able to, with either of its effects, we're able to Reborn and search field spell here. So we're going to go send Duprado, add that, place Scales, and now we're going to use Exceed's effect to summon second effect of Exceed, summon a Pend from hand or grave with a level between the Pend scales of the 2 cards. This is a 5. This is an 11, so we're able to summon out our level 10 to give us an extra body for summoning out our Mercurium. This is going to give us access to the Goliath, attach that from deck, and then Medius shuffle back and reborn himself. Now Vidolium's going to reborn the Duprado because we got it back in grave as it was Exceed material. Then Vidolium's going to get the field spell. Field spell is going to summon another level 10, and this actually allows us to summon a Varodras here. This Baguska is summoned, and then it's the same play as before. With this line, there is obviously, depending on what you want to play around, it might be smarter to put Baguska in attack so that this Goliath can be in attack position, and the Varudras negate will be live then, since Baguska is not locking out the effects of the Varudras while it's in defense position. If we summon it in attack, we can still use this, and then it allows our combo to play around something like an evenly matched, which neither of these stop. So, I mean, they're two kind of basic combos. This deck also pushes really well into boards, which is with Engine, which is something I really found fun while playing it. On locals on Thursday, I was able to resolve the effect of Vidolium to banish everything face down twice against Sky Striker. So I just made him run out of Widow Anchors and Lemniscates, and then I was able to just beat down with Vidolium. It was very fun deck to play. Other than that, that's about it for today. Let me know any questions in the comments, of course, and I hope you found this helpful. See ya.